3 billion human lives ended on August 29, 1997. The survivors of the nuclear fire called the war Judgment Day. They lived only to face a new nightmare, the war against the machines.
I'm Luke Summerhays, and I love Iron Treads. Robots are cool. I grew up surrounded by robot content, from the cute misadventures of Johnny Five in the Short Circuit movies, to my favourite film of all time, Terminator 2. The idea of befriending a robot has long been a dream of mine. And between Transformers cartoons and tokusatsu mecha battles, I've always thought fighting robots were just as exciting as monsters. In real life, robot technology hasn't evolved quite the way it was predicted to in science fiction. True intelligence is still some way off, and the complex movements of humanoid bodies with delicate hands are very difficult to replicate. Instead, scientists and engineers have looked to the animal world. Dog-like robots clamber over difficult surfaces to move supplies, while snake-like machines wiggle through debris to look for those in need of rescue. Iron Treads is a robotic elephant, rolling around in a wheel-like formation and then unfolding when it arrives, like a droidecar from the Star Wars prequels. A ground and steel-type monster, it appears to be a futuristic, robotic version of the modern-day Pokemon Donphan. Just as Great Tusk was for Pokemon Scarlet players, Iron Treads was the introduction to Paradox Pokemon in Pokemon Violet. It appears outside of Area Zero, as one of the Titans the player must defeat, in this case with a special plea from the Professor. Although I think overall I prefer the prehistoric, wild and untamed vibe of Scarlet's Paradox monsters, these sci-fi robots are a much more shocking twist when they appear. Battling Iron Treads in the early game creates some very interesting questions for the player to answer when they finally delve into Area Zero. Questions which are still not completely answered. Pokemon Scarlet's Pokédex tells us, "This Pokemon closely resembles a scientific weapon that a paranormal magazine claimed was sent to this planet by aliens." Of course, we can read this issue of Occulture. Enigmas of Paldea, file number 9. Iron Treads, an alien weapon? In one arid corner of Paldea, there have been reports of a mysterious life form. It is said to resemble a Donphan at first glance, albeit one that can abruptly assume a spherical shape and launch into a swift-rolling attack. Rumours say this being is some kind of weapon, using technology not of this world. But no one can say for sure. Apparently, it's called Iron Treads, after the name of a strange being that was written about in the mysterious Violet book. And in Pokemon Violet, the Pokédex says, "Sightings of this Pokemon have occurred in recent years. It resembles a mysterious object described in an old expedition journal." We can see this image, and, like with Great Tusk's sketch in Pokemon Scarlet, it does strongly resemble Iron Treads. Iron Treads has seen some usefulness in competitive Pokemon play, as it is able to abuse the likes of Spikes and Stealth Rock, but also has multiple spinning moves to dispel them. On top of this, it can hit with powerful attacks, like Earthquake, and act like a big, threatening attack Pokemon. It isn't quite as popular as its Scarlet counterpart competitively, but it does very well. Rolling robots, spherical robots, and even robots based on animals are all science fact as well as science fiction. In a world where magical creatures like Pokemon existed, I don't think a robot like Iron Treads would be too far outside the realms of possibility. Music for Luke Loves Pokemon is composed by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Writing, producing, and editing is by me, Luke Summerhays, while funding is provided by lovely listeners at patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. Next up are Iron Bundle and Iron Hands, so if you have thoughts about those or any other monsters, hit me up with a DM or an email to lukelovespkmn@gmail.com. If you like this podcast, please rate and review wherever you're listening, or tell a friend. If you want to hear more Pokemon chatter from me, come by twitch.tv/lukelovespkmn, most Saturday nights from 9 PM UK time. And even if you don't feel like doing any of that, thank you so much just for listening. I love Iron Treads, and remember, I love you too.